There's something special about stealth games. This genre of gaming is beloved by many people, mainly just because it's so satisfying and fun to play. There's something about stealth gameplay that caters to that inner fun and love of hide and seek inside all of us. I'm pretty sure each and every one of us as a child has had fun at least once hiding in a bush or hiding in a closet, waiting to jump out and scare your dog, your parents, or your friends. So with unlimited freedom to do that in a video game in a different setting just makes it special. There are countless fun stealth games out there, but only a select few that really elevated the genre to new heights. So with that, let's talk about the evolution of stealth games. Stealth in video games seems to be a very modern trope, but we actually saw the makings of it way back when in Castle Wolfenstein. No, not Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Castle Wolfenstein. This game was far removed from the first-person shooter roots the series is known for. In this Apple II 1981 game, you're tasked with avoiding Nazi guards by sneaking around, choosing who to kill and when with very limited ammo, holding up soldiers, impersonating them, and stealing documents, all without being noticed. This very simple and very rudimentary idea of hide-and-seek and stealth worked for the game. And while the game was a hit, it would lose touch with its stealth roots only to resurface in a new game in 1987, when everything changed, and that was Metal Gear. Metal Gear was released in 1987 for the MSX2 computer, and is considered by many the original stealth game. The most interesting thing about this first stealth game was that it was designed not out of purpose, but out of real necessity. The MSX2 couldn't do much, and due to the hardware limitations at the time, series creator Hideo Kojima was forced to reconsider his design of an action shooter. The code in the game could really only render 3 enemies on screen at once. So to extend gameplay and make it more exciting, Hideo Kojima and Konami developed a stealth system and the idea of sneaking around guards rather than shooting them. Turns out this style of gameplay was really awesome, and people really loved having some weapons but really using your wits more than anything to complete the game. The stealth system in the original Metal Gear was very simple. Guards would see you, they would enter an alert phase, and you'd either have to run away to another room to avoid them or take them all out to stop the alarm. Things were expanded in 1990 for the official sequel, Metal Gear 2: Solid Snake. This title really embraced the stealth and even dubbed itself a tactical espionage game. It expanded upon the systems from the original game, adding the ability to crouch, a new radar system, and guards being smarter and having a radar cone of vision, where you could see exactly how far they could see and spot you. Many of these stealth game techniques will be adapted over to Metal Gear Solid in the near future, but we'll get back to that. A stealth game of significance that a lot of people overlook is 1997's GoldenEye. Yes, we've all played this beloved Nintendo 64 classic, but many of us forget about the single-player campaign that actually really embraced some stealth concepts. Missions were fairly open-ended, and you were able to kind of mess and play around with the guards to your heart's desire. The game embraced using silenced weapons, killing guards before they triggered alarms, and even shooting at surveillance cameras. Doing all of these things, while it's a more slower and less action-packed style of playing, made your progression a little bit easier and smoother, especially for players who weren't too good with the controls and good at shooting a bunch of characters on screen at once. It's important to know that stealth was an option in 1997's GoldenEye, and kind of paved the way for stealth sequences in action first-person shooters. Because if you played a first-person shooter in modern times, you always know that there's a stealth level. You could probably thank GoldenEye for that. Fast forward to 1998, which is considered probably the golden year for stealth games. Not only was it a time of innovation for stealth games, but it was also when 3D gaming was at its height. We had the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64, and PC all pumping out polygonal-based games. What is considered by many the first fully 3D, entirely stealth-focused game is Tenchu: Stealth Assassins. I don't know if all of you guys remember this Tenchu, but it was absolutely awesome. You choose a character, you're given a tool set with a variety of different ways to take out targets, and grappling hooks in order to ninja scale your way up walls and ceilings and rooftops, really kind of changing and adding much more of a level of verticality to these types of games. Not only did it have all that, but most importantly, it was fun, and the ability to play these games over and over again was welcome and done by many players. 1998 also saw the release of Metal Gear Solid. Yes, this is the big one. It changed video games in many ways from story and presentation, but it also kind of brought stealth action gaming to the mainstream. Metal Gear Solid stealth gameplay was actually deceptively simple and very similar to Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake from 1990. You crawled and hid underneath trucks, you flattened up against walls and hid around corners, you hide in cardboard boxes, and you sneak up behind enemies and choke their lights out. Metal Gear Solid was an incredibly challenging game and made it very difficult to sneak your way through entire sequences, but it could be done. And what it really did for me and for many other players was giving you that satisfaction that you'll never forget, how it feels to sneak up and get the drop on a guard. There's not many better payoffs in video games, and this is definitely what makes stealth games so special. Stealth gaming also got a little more open-ended in 1998 with the release of Thief, the Dark Project. This original Thief was special for many reasons. Number one, it was a first-person style game, but it was not a shooter, it was completely stealth-based. This was something that was at the time very unfamiliar to players, not only the fact that your character was incredibly weak. Being spotted meant you had to engage in combat or flee. Thief really gave you a reason for sneaking around. It gave a necessity to your stealth. The idea here was that if you were seen, you were ultimately really screwed, more so than any other stealth game we've talked about so far. Levels and scenarios in Thief were very open-ended for different approaches, including AI that just really shook things up. This PC-style mission approach would later influence many other stealth games. But one of the most importantly influential things Thief had was the embrace of using shadows, darkness, and sound to your advantage. While it was a fairly simple system, to succeed in Thief, you had to hide in the shadows. You hid in dark corners of the areas for enemies to not see you. You would know for sure if you were hidden in the dark or not by an on-screen indicator. Not only were you forced to stick to the shadows, but you also had to be really quiet. Attacking enemies, using and dropping certain items, and stepping on certain types of floors would cause a loud sound to occur and trigger nearby enemies. The light and shadow and sound systems would later be expanded upon in a very important stealth game. More on that in a bit. It's also worth noting that Thief influenced the stealth aspects of Deus Ex in 2000. Deus Ex was a first-person RPG that let you approach missions in a variety of different ways: guns blazing, subterfuge, talking and hacking your way through, or sneaking. While it didn't change the stealth game much, what it did do was reward players who would sneak through a level without any encounters, or for taking out any enemies non-lethally. The cleaner and more sneaky the playthrough, the more you were rewarded as a player. By 2002, it was time for RPGs to add some stealth aspects to their games, and that changed with The Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Morrowind had the now classic and beloved open-world RPG style, but added a sneak button that really kind of changed the way some people could play. While in a crouch sneak mode position, an on-screen indicator would let you know whether or not anyone in the environment could see you. That way you could slip into a shop and steal some goods, or pickpocket someone, or basically do whatever your heart desired. You can get away with it all as long as no one saw you. In Morrowind, and expanded more in Oblivion, if you were seen doing some bad deeds, you would be thrown in jail and punished for sneaking and stealing. Speaking of sneaking and stealing, and by stealing I mean stealing lives, let's talk about 2002's Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell was incredibly revolutionary because it took the light and shadow systems from Thief and took them to the next level. As Sam Fisher, you were a badass stealth operative who had to sneak his way through missions using light, shadow, and sound to succeed in your mission and remain unseen. The original Splinter Cell was extremely punishing, and there were certain missions where you couldn't be seen by a guard at all. Splinter Cell had a light and shadow meter that let you know if you were hidden in the dark enough. This took it beyond just a designated dark, shadowy area to hide in, because thanks to the game's powerful light and graphics engine, you were able to shut off lights, shoot out light bulbs, and basically create your own darkness to hide in. Along with that, Splinter Cell also had an advanced sound meter that was very sensitive to how fast you would move, what you would step on, what kind of gun you would fire, what kind of gadget you would use, and it also took into account sounds in the environment. When something else was loud in the environment, you could get by unnoticed with your quieter noises. And you could tell all this thanks to a handy-dandy meter on the right side of the screen. It worked incredibly well and really changed the game. But speaking of changing the game, 2004's Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow actually added a Spy vs. Merc multiplayer mode. What this basically was hide and seek on Xbox Live, and it was amazing. People ran out to purchase Xbox Live and hook up their internet just to play this awesome game mode, which is basically like an amped up version of hide and seek. Two players played as spies in a third-person style like Splinter Cell, and two people played as mercenaries hunting in a first-person style with a big gun and a flashlight. And man, oh man, was it addictive and fun and awesome. It really tapped into what I talked about in the beginning of this video, that innate nature to play hide and seek within all of us. This was it entirely in multiplayer video game form, and it was awesome and expanded upon in the next Splinter Cell games. By this time, stealth was making its way into other types of mainstream games from big publishers. We got more fun, accessible, and light stealth games like Sly Cooper and some moments in Beyond Good and Evil in 2002 and 2003 respectively. By this point, everybody had played a stealth game or a stealth sequence and absolutely loved it. But there were other alternative style stealth games to pursue, most notably Hitman. Hitman, while not always labeled a stealth game, game, I like to call it more of a social stealth game. You're a man tasked with assassinating someone, and you can walk around an environment, and it's your job to either sneak around, blend into a crowd, or completely disguise yourself as another person in order to accomplish your mission. There's a huge variety of ways to be sneaky in the Hitman games, from Hitman 2's dressing up like a delivery man and sneaking your way into a compound doing a delivery, while you really just have a gun hidden in the groceries, from hiding in plain sight in big Mardi Gras crowds in New Orleans in Hitman's Blood Money. Along with that, in 2007, we had Assassin's Creed, which had a bit of its own take on the social stealth subgenre. The name of the game here was fight or flight, and run away and break the line of sight of your enemies, and one of the ways you could do that was through hiding in a crowd or sitting on a bench and basically blending in. These social stealth moments really add to the genre by just giving us some really tense gameplay scenarios that are a ton of fun. Like I said earlier in the video, many modern first-person shooters get their own stealth sequences, but one that is definitely worth noting is Call of Duty 4's All Ghillied Up mission. This deceptively simple mission had you guided by an NPC across a wide open field, sneaking your way through armies of troops, tanks, snipers, and more, and it was totally special and totally memorable. And of course, nobody can ever forget the revolutionary Sneak King that really added to the genre in a multitude of ways. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding, but I had to include that. But now, years later, from the very first inkling of stealth gameplay in 1981, we have year after year chock full of stealth games. We've had a lot of new recent innovations like Republic, where you actually don't play as the main character, you operate as someone looking through surveillance cameras. Recently, we've also had the game Volume, honoring the now traditional Metal Gear Solid stealth gameplay. And of course, speaking of Metal Gear Solid, we've had Metal Gear Solid 5, which really opened up the stealth genre to open world action in new ways. Hideo Kojima basically birthed stealth games as we know it today, so it makes sense that he was the one to kind of usher it into the next generation. People have tried open world games where you can sneak, but Metal Gear Solid 5 just really seemed to do it right and make it fun. I'd say the future is definitely bright for stealth video games. Stealth and general sneakiness has expanded to so many different genres like RPGs, first-person shooters, third-person action games, and even, especially if you think about it, horror games. Before the rise of stealth games, horror games were all about defeating your enemies. Now, many horror games focus around hiding from your enemies and hoping that you'll survive. Yes, hiding from your enemies is a gameplay mechanic, and you know why? Stealth games. I'm serious, this genre really is everywhere you look. There are plenty of stealth games to go around from its humble beginnings, and there's so much to play and so many other stealth games to talk about. So that's why we want to hear from you guys in the comments. What stealth games do you think really added to the genre? What type of gameplay aspect really took things to a new level? And just basically, what's your favorite stealth game? Let's talk about that all down in the comments below. You guys know the deal though. If you like these evolution style videos, we really appreciate you watching, and we would love it if you click the like button because it helps us out a ton. If this is your first time here though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out new videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.